Section 2 of Further Chronicles of Avonlea. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Further Chronicles of Avonlea by Lucy Maud Montgomery. Chapter 1. Aunt Cynthia's Persian Cat, Part 2. Max came over, and we had another search, but without result. Days passed, but we did not find Fatima. I would certainly have gone crazy had it not been for Max. He was worth his weight in gold during the awful week that followed. We did not dare advertise, lest Aunt Cynthia should see it, but we inquired far and wide for a white Persian cat with a blue spot on its tail, and offered a reward for it, but nobody had seen it, although people kept coming to the house, night and day, with every kind of cat in a basket, wanting to know if it was the one we had lost. "We shall never see Fatima again," I said hopelessly to Max and Ismay one afternoon. I had just turned away an old woman with a big yellow Tommy, which she insisted must be ours, "'cause it kem to our place, ma'am, a yowling fearful, ma'am, and it didn't belong to nobody, not down Grafton way, ma'am." "I'm afraid you won't," said Max. "She must have perished from exposure long ere this." "Aunt Cynthia will never forgive us," said Ismay dismally. "I had a presentiment of trouble the moment that cat came to this house." We had never heard of this presentiment before, but Ismay is good at having presentiments after things happen. "What shall we do?" I demanded hopelessly. "Max, can't you find some way out of this scrape for us?" "Advertise in the Charlottetown papers for a white Persian cat," suggested Max. "Some one may have one for sale. If so, you must buy it, and palm it off on your good aunt as Fatima. She's very short-sighted, so it will be quite possible." "But Fatima has a blue spot on her tail," I said. "You must advertise for a cat with a blue spot on its tail," said Max. "It will cost a pretty penny," said Ismay dolefully. "Fatima was valued at $100. "We must take the money we have been saving for our new furs," I said sorrowfully. "There is no other way out of it. It will cost us a good deal more if we lose Aunt Cynthia's favor. She is quite capable of believing that we have made away with Fatima deliberately and with malice aforethought." So we advertised. Max went to town and had the notice inserted in the most important daily. We asked any one who had a white Persian cat with a blue spot on the tip of its tail to dispose of to communicate with M.I., care of the Enterprise. We really did not have much hope that anything would come of it, so we were surprised and delighted over the letter Max brought home from town 4 days later. It was a typewritten screed from Halifax, stating that the writer had for sale a white Persian cat answering to our description. The price was $110, and if M.I. cared to go to Halifax and inspect the animal, it would be found at 110 Hollis Street, by inquiring for Persian. "Temper your joy, my friends," said Ismay gloomily. "The cat may not suit. The blue spot may be too big or too small, or not in the right place. I consistently refuse to believe that any good thing can come out of this deplorable affair." Just at this moment there was a knock at the door, and I hurried out. The postmaster's boy was there with a telegram. I tore it open, glanced at it, and dashed back into the room. "What is it now?" cried Ismay, beholding my face. I held out the telegram. It was from Aunt Cynthia. She had wired us to send Fatima to Halifax by express immediately. For the first time Max did not seem ready to rush into the breach with a suggestion. It was I who spoke first. "Max," I said imploringly, "you'll see us through this, won't you? Neither Ismay nor I can rush off to Halifax at once. You must go tomorrow morning. Go right to 110 Hollis Street and ask for Persian. If the cat looks enough like Fatima, buy it and take it to Aunt Cynthia. If it doesn't, but it must, you'll go, won't you?" "That depends," said Max. I stared at him. This was so unlike Max. "You are sending me on a nasty errand," he said coolly. "How do I know that Aunt Cynthia will be deceived after all, even if she be short-sighted? Buying a cat in a joke is a huge risk. And if she should see through the scheme, I shall be in a pretty mess." "Oh, Max," I said, on the verge of tears. "Of course," said Max, looking meditatively into the fire, "if I were really one of the family, or had any reasonable prospect of being so, I would not mind so much. It would be all in the day's work then. But as it is— Ismay got up and went out of the room. "Oh, Max, please," I said. "Will you marry me, Sue?" demanded Max sternly. "If you will agree, I'll go to Halifax and beard the lion in his den unflinchingly. If necessary, I will take a black street cat to Aunt Cynthia and swear that it is Fatima. I'll get you out of the scrape, if I have to prove that you never had Fatima, that she is safe in your possession at the present time, and that there never was such an animal as Fatima anyhow. I'll do anything, say anything, but it must be for my future wife." "Will nothing else content you?" I said helplessly. "Nothing." I thought hard. Of course Max was acting abominably, but he really was a dear fellow, and this was the 12th time, and there was Anne Shirley. I knew in my secret soul that life would be a dreadful, dismal thing if Max were not around somewhere. Besides, I would have married him long ago had not Aunt Cynthia thrown us so pointedly at each other's heads ever since he came to Spencervale. "Very well," I said crossly. Max left for Halifax in the morning. Next day we got a wire saying it was all right. The evening of the following day he was back in Spencervale. Ismay and I put him in a chair and glared at him impatiently. Max began to laugh and laughed until he turned blue. "I am glad it is so amusing," said Ismay severely. "If Sue and I could see the joke it might be more so." "Dear little girls, have patience with me," implored Max. "If you knew what it cost me to keep a straight face in Halifax you would forgive me for breaking out now." "We forgive you, but for pity's sake tell us all about it." "Well, as soon as I arrived in Halifax I hurried to 110 Hollis Street. But see here, didn't you tell me your aunt's address was 10 Pleasant Street? So it is." "'Tisn't. You look at the address on a telegram next time you get one. She went a week ago to visit another friend who lives at 110 Hollis." "Max!" "It's a fact. I rang the bell, and I was just going to ask the maid for Persian when your Aunt Cynthia herself came through the hall and pounced on me. 'Max,' she said, 'have you brought Fatima?' 'No,' I answered, trying to adjust my wits to this new development as she towed me into the library. 'No, I just came to Halifax on a little matter of business.' 'Dear me,' said Aunt Cynthia crossly, 'I don't know what those girls mean. I wired them to send Fatima at once, and she has not come, and I am expecting a call every minute from someone who wants to buy her.' 'Oh,' I murmured, mining deeper every minute. 'Yes,' went on your aunt, 'there is an advertisement in the Charlottetown Enterprise for a Persian cat, and I answered it. Fatima is really quite a charge, you know, and so apt to die and be a dead loss. Did your aunt mean a pun, girls? And so, although I am considerably attached to her, I have decided to part with her.' By this time I had got my second wind, and I promptly decided that a judicious mixture of the truth was the thing to be told. 'Well, of all the curious coincidences,' I exclaimed, 'why, Miss Ridley, it was I who advertised for a Persian cat on Sue's behalf. She and Ismay have decided that they want a cat like Fatima for themselves.' You should have seen how she beamed. She said she knew you always really liked cats, only you would never own up to it. We clinched the dicker then and there. I passed her over your $110. She took the money without turning a hair, and now you are the joint owners of Fatima. Good luck to your bargain." "Mean old thing," sniffed Ismay. She meant Aunt Cynthia, and remembering our shabby furs, I didn't disagree with her. "But there is no Fatima," I said dubiously. "How shall we account for her when Aunt Cynthia comes home?" "Well, your aunt isn't coming home for a month yet. When she comes you will have to tell her that the cat is lost, but you needn't say when it happened. As for the rest, Fatima is your property now, so Aunt Cynthia can't grumble. But she will have a poorer opinion than ever of your fitness to run a house alone." When Max left I went to the window to watch him down the path. He was really a handsome fellow, and I was proud of him. At the gate he turned to wave me good-bye, and, as he did, he glanced upward. Even at that distance I saw the look of amazement on his face. Then he came bolting back. "Ismay, the house is on fire!" I shrieked as I flew to the door. "Sue," cried Max, "I saw Fatima or her ghost at the garret window a moment ago." "Nonsense!" I cried, but Ismay was already halfway up the stairs, and we followed. Straight to the garret we rushed. There sat Fatima, sleek and complacent, sunning herself in the window. Max laughed until the rafters rang. "She can't have been up here all this time," I protested, half tearfully. "We would have heard her meowing." "But you didn't," said Max. "She would have died of the cold," declared Ismay. "But she hasn't," said Max. "Or starved," I cried. "The place is alive with mice," said Max. "No, girls, there is no doubt the cat has been here the whole fortnight. She must have followed Huldah Jane up here, unobserved, that day. It is a wonder you didn't hear her crying, if she did cry. But perhaps she didn't, and of course you sleep downstairs. To think you never thought of looking for her here!" "It has cost us over $100, said Ismay with a malevolent glance at the sleek Fatima. "It has cost me more than that," I said, as I turned to the stairway. Max held me back for an instant, while Ismay and Fatima pattered down. "Do you think it has cost too much, Sue?" he whispered. I looked at him sideways. He was really a dear. Niceness fairly exhaled from him. "No," I said, "but when we are married you will have to take care of Fatima. I won't." "Dear Fatima," said Max gratefully. Section 2